Welcome to the latest episode of the Catalyst Health, Wellness, and Performance Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Cooper of the Catalyst Coaching Institute, and today we're going to be speaking with one of the pioneers of sports medicine. Dr. Andy Pruitt initiated in many ways the concept of bike fitting and was the founder of one of the first sports medicine centers in the world, the Center of Sports Medicine in Boulder, Colorado. It's a fun discussion with someone who has had such an incredible impact on multiple fronts. If you're thinking about pursuing your certification as a health and wellness coach, the last fast track of 2020 is coming up November 14th and 15th. It's entirely virtual, and as soon as you register, you can, if you want, begin the other components of the process to get a running start. This will set you up for the 2021 National Board Certification through the MBHWC, so it's perfect timing if that's on your radar. The last 5 fast tracks have filled up early, so don't wait too long if it's a priority. All the details, catalystcoachinginstitute.com, or feel free to reach out to us anytime. Results at catalystcoachinginstitute.com. And just a quick reminder, check out youtube.com/coaching channel, as we now have over 90 videos covering health, wellness, and performance available for free over there, and would love to get your feedback. Now it's time to take a stroll down memory lane and turn our attention toward our own optimal performance with Dr. Andy Pruitt on the latest episode of the Catalyst Health, Wellness, and Performance Coaching Podcast. Well, Dr. Pruitt, welcome to the Catalyst Health, Wellness, and Performance Coaching Podcast.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
So just about everybody knows Dr. Andy Pruitt, even if maybe they don't realize they know you, based on the influence you've had both on sports medicine and the cycling world. I'll give the quick version that they've heard in the intro. Pioneer in the world of bike fitting, founder of the Center of Sports Medicine in Boulder, Colorado, Paralympic medalist. What as you look back over the journey, what are some of your favorite memories?
My favorite memories. Wow.
Yeah.
My career started as sideline medicine as an athletic trainer.
Mm-hmm.
I came to Boulder, Colorado to be on Eddie Crowder's last football staff. That'll age me.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's why I came, is to be on Eddie's last football staff.
Wow.
CU was ranked 3rd in the nation at the time. I had only been out of undergraduate school a year, but I had started a sports medicine program out in New Jersey in a small college, a booming success, if I have to say so myself. Anyway, so Colorado called. And boom, here I am. So 40 plus years of sideline and clinical medicine, 40 years of bike racing, and 35 years of caring for cyclists at all levels. I mean, memories, if you were to ask me my greatest athletic memory, it'd probably be winning the World Championships in Gilly-sous-Loire, France in 1987. That's probably my favorite athletic memory, but clinically it was probably opening the Boulder Center for Sports Medicine.
Yeah, huge.
I had been away all summer with the Olympic team. I was the chief medical officer for USA Cycling and the chief medical officer for all cycling venues at the Atlanta Olympics. So I had been away all summer, knowing that I was going to leave my small practice in Denver to open this, at the time, revolution.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah. Now they're on every corner, but at the time it was a big deal. And that opening night, as I looked around and thought, wow, this is, I've opened an Olympic training center equivalent, but open to the public with total community physician input and support. It was the greatest 20 years of my professional career running the Boulder Center for Sports Medicine. So like I said before we started, my 2 careers have been intertwined, and I just don't know. That's a tough question.
Right out of the gate.
Yeah, but I enjoy making me think about favorite memories. So I would give winning the Worlds and opening BCSM. My 2 favorites.
Beautiful. All right, let's get into some of the specific people. You've met some of the world's greatest athletes in your lifetime. Who are some of your favorites that stand out above the crowd for you personally? Maybe the audience doesn't even know these names, but for you personally, who stands out?
Well, the one that people are going to recognize most at the moment is Peter Sagan. Peter is just a character, and he would be a character if he played soccer or if he was an artist, or that's just him. And I met him at a time when he was in great need and was lucky enough to help him. So we had a relationship that, you know, it was more than a sponsor thrusting me on a team.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I already had this relationship with him. So he is just a character. He was what cycling needed at the time. He's in the twilight. He may not want to admit this right now, but he's in the twilight of his sprinting career. I don't think he's in the twilight of his classics career. But anyway, Peter is just the character you see on TV is truly him. And it's such a great guy. And the other one that's popular right now that people will know is Julian Alaphilippe. You know, I've known Julian since he was just a kid, and he too is just this bubbling, effervescent Frenchman, right? And I mean Frenchman in the most loving way.
Sure.
Just great characters. I've enjoyed them. And then there was a guy who was a professional wrestler of all things. He's no longer with us. His name was Leon White. He played center and middle guard for CU back in the day. A gigantic from Watts. That doesn't add up much, does it? But he went on to be a professional wrestler and was known as the Baby Bull. And he wrestled mostly in Europe and in Japan. But he was just this great big guy. And there was a time in the training room at CU, he was a freshman. And we made the freshman wait to be the last guys taped.
Mm-hmm.
And Leon required a lot of tape. Anyway, and I remember him busting his way into the training room and just coming after me verbally. And I pinned him up against the wall, grabbing his shirt. And we had a little altercation at that moment. I'm half his size, obviously. But we had a respect from that moment on. I had the pleasure of caring for him as he played for the Los Angeles Rams after CU. He then went on to be, 15 years in pro artistic wrestling, whatever you want to call it. And he confided in me in a way that he would have never had we not had that chest bumping confrontation in the training room. So I could go on. I mean, I love to tell stories, and in 40 years, I've met lots of characters. But there's the 300-pound guy, and there's the 130-pound guy. Julian and the Baby Bull are pretty the opposites that I can say I encountered in my 40 years.
I love it. Let's get in a little bit more of the. We love the practical side here on this podcast. And so as you've spent time with these incredible athletes, as you've watched them, as you've chatted with them, as you've observed them behind the curtain, what have you learned from them for your life? What have you digested from them where you say, you know what, I probably do this a little bit more because of this interaction I had, because of the time I had with this person over here? Kind of the iron sharpens iron, but in a more personalized, in your case, very unique way.
I've always been my goals were nebulous, right? I never sought out success.
Mm-hmm.
I've had this conversation with our common friend, Rob Carrera. I never sought it out. I just every day did what I thought was right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to get too mystical about it, but I've always tried to do what was right. And so success found me. What these characters have in common is this incredible focus toward an end goal.
Mm.
And I think if you were to ask my friends, my local ride buddies, my wife, that if I say it out loud, if I say I am going to do X, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So, and that, Peter said to me, he said, I want to win multiple world championships in a row. And he said, I want to win on multiple kinds of courses. I don't want to be just a climber, just a sprinter. And he set his mind and he did it. I think that's the secret that these guys have. They don't all have massive physiological engines, they're all on par with each other. But many times it is the guy who wants it the most and has prepared the best, right? The harder we work, the luckier we get. Prior planning proves success. There's all kinds of, slogans, but I think that's what I would walk away in camp, cycling or any other sport, and walk away and say, that kid's special, or that woman is special. And then within the next couple of years, they're winning world championships or bowl games. So I think that's the difference. If you put 50 world-class athletes on a fence, they're all within a couple of heartbeats or max VO2s
right.
of each other. And it is that dedication, it is that will, and it's that focus. Say it out loud and do it. That's what I took away.
So let's run down that path a little bit, because I agree. I think that is an absolute superpower, and it is the folks that I've crossed paths with. It's the same thing. That is a huge one. But with you, it sounds like it was already there. It was natural. Is that something that you think people can learn, or do you either have it or you don't?
Well, I think you have it, personally. I was born with it.
Right.
I don't want to go down this road, but I had a hunting accident when I was a kid, and my mom always told me I had a one-track mind, right? So that's the good start to focus and goal setting. But so I had a gunshot accident when I was, and everybody was all worried. I was an athlete, and the first question I asked when I woke up: will my new foot have toes, and when will I run? And this was 1964, so the thought of an amputee running,
right, different world,
was a bizarre concept.
Yeah,
a different world. So I've always had it, Brad. That's just me, and for better or worse, get the hell out of my way. So.
Have you seen athletes that have developed that over time? As you've seen people that maybe have the talent, they don't have the focus, but over time they develop it? Or is it literally, it's not going to happen because this guy or this gal they just don't have that piece?
So again, these are my personal, observations.
Sure.
They're not science.
Sure.
But the guy that's got it, he's always got it. So there's the athlete that has suffered a disappointment or an injury, and then they find a new gear, right? Is that learned, or was it there and their setback
sparked it?
The door,
right?
I'm not sure.
Right.
It's about mental toughness. It's about mental focus. There's a lot of great athletes sitting on a couch somewhere that have no idea that they're a great athlete. They've never tapped it, right? I mean, if I'm coaching someone athletically, I'd rather have an average athlete with a tremendous focus and work ethic than the gifted athlete who has no focus or work ethic.
Oh yeah.
So that's sure personal bias for sure.
No, I'm right there with you. Absolutely. All right. We don't want to take too deep a dive into bike fitting, but we can't leave it off the table either with your history. I remember when we won the Race Across America back in 2016, people were constantly like, oh my gosh, how terrible was it to be on your bike seat, that little seat for, 15 hours a day. I was fine. Like, that was not an issue at all. I had a great bike fit. I was so comfortable. I would joke about I was more comfortable on my bike than my easy chair. But let's start for the serious riders. Most of them already know all about bike fitting, but what are a couple of things they might not realize that you could kind of bring to the forefront for them?
Well, I would contradict what you just said. I don't think all elite riders know all about bike fitting.
Really? Interesting.
It's not uncommon for these elite characters not to even know what size bike they ride.
Interesting.
On the bike, sat on it, been successful. Position has been basically inherited, or get the the thermometer, looking at it. So no, Fabian Cancellara, when I first met him, he had no idea.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Andy Fleck had no idea what's exactly right. So I think there are people who succeed, and this happens a lot in the highest level, people who succeed despite their background or their equipment or whatever else. They just have that focus and that physiological gift to succeed. So my philosophy toward bike fitting developed over decades, but it was basically the bike has to look like you. And you're comfortable on your bike because somebody has made that bike reflect your biomechanical and physiological gifts. And if it mirrors you well, then you do not have to adapt. So the human is an incredibly adaptable, living machine, while the bike is an adjustable, rigid machine. So if you get on a bike that doesn't even just millimeters off, your body's going to adapt to that position. And if it has to adapt too much, there's going to be a physiological break. There's going to be a tendonitis, or there's going to be some kind of overuse injury that occurs when that adaptation fails. So when a bike fits you right, adaptation to those misgivings are minimized or not there at all. So that philosophy is just always, I don't know, it was there. The first real bike fit I did, 1979, we think. It was on Connie Carpenter, who now, her claim to fame now is the mother of Taylor Finney. Of course, we all know she's a world champion, Olympic champion.
Exactly.
But so this was, and basically she came to the training room at CU and had knee pain. And I had one of the football players hold her saddle, kind of like a time trial start. And she backpedaled for me. That was the first dynamic. She couldn't pedal forward, right? Bicycle trainers, wind trainers, didn't exist at the time.
Right.
So she backpedaled for me. That was the first dynamic bike fit that we did. So I just knew that she had this funny knee wobble. And those are the days when we were nailing cleats on the bottom of wooden shoes. So if you didn't get the cleat nailed on just right, and then you had to adapt to that faulty cleat position. And the Europeans had been telling us that the cleats go here and your knees go there, and there you have it, right? It's written in the Italian Fit Manual published in 1976. This is how you sit on a bike. And it was based on how the young 20-year-old male Italians that were successful sat on their bikes. So they said, well, if that guy looks like this and he's successful, then that's the way we should all look.
Right.
And it's just totally wrong. It's not true. But a lot of people washed out of the sport over the years because they could not adapt to the Italian fit method in those years. So the reason your bike is so comfortable for you is that someone made it look like you. Hopefully it was an intentional.
Yeah.
It wasn't an accident, but I suspect it was an intentional
Absolutely.
mirror image of you. You see the guy get a spare bike at the tour, right? So his bike fails and he gets they're never quite the same, even though the mechanics are meticulous about every millimeter, adjusting the brake hoods and the saddle heights and the saddle fore aft and the bar roll and all those things. When you get on a different bike, different than the one you've been riding for 4 hours, it is different. So suddenly that first 15 minutes, that body is going, wait, I've got to do this. So if you think about the world championships that just were, I don't know if anybody watched them or not, but the young Slovenian kid, my mind's gone blank, Tadej Pogačar, he had just won the Tour de France, right? And so here we are in the Worlds, and just before the big climb where he was going to attack, his bike fails. He drifts all the way to the back of the peloton, gets a new bike, rides all the way through the peloton, attacks, and he's halfway up the hill, and he blows up. Now, Did he blow up because he was fatigued from the tour? Did he blow up because he was leading out a teammate? Did he blow up because this spare bike wasn't exactly right? And that is a definite possibility for the reason that his attack did not succeed. He was not on a bike that he started the race on. So anyway, I took a left turn on you, but
we love left turns here. That's the fun part. Let's slightly more left turn over the recreational rider. Is a bike fit important for that person? So if I'm riding twice a week, I get out on the weekend, and then sometime during the week I head out for an evening ride for an hour and a half. Should that person be looking for a bike fit?
Well, so let's just say they've got a slightly malfit bicycle, and they're riding only twice a week. There's a lot of time between those rides for those adaptations to heal.
Okay.
So you may not really notice it. It's that same guy that rides twice a week that suddenly wants to do Ragbri, the ride across Iowa. Right. So now all of a sudden at day 3 in a row, whatever those little adaptogens have been, then he's going to have, patella tendonitis or whatever, saddle sore, whatever it is. So that twice a week guy has a lot of chance to heal in between. Now, the weekend warrior who doesn't ride all week and who hammers himself Saturday and Sunday.
Nobody does that. What do you mean?
At 70, I have trouble doing it these days. But anyway, that guy has a less of a chance to recover between hard efforts. And he may be more inclined to have trouble. But the answer to your first question, does everybody need a bike fit? And the answer is yes. How many bikes are hanging in garages and the owner says, I don't really like bicycling. That saddle, it's uncomfortable. My hand, I just don't like it. So they hang it up, stop cycling.
Right.
So that's a sad thing because cycling should be a lifelong sport. There is no reason in the world. You may need training wheels at some point in time, but cycling still should be a lifelong sport. So yes, everybody deserves a biomechanically correct fitting bicycle.
That's great advice. I didn't know you were going to take us down that path, but that's fantastic. So with that in mind, pretty much every bike shop, many physical therapy clinics and other places offer the fittings. Are there certain questions? So if someone hears this and they're like, you know what, I need to do that. Are there certain questions somebody should ask before they make that appointment?
It's such a tricky question. Back when I was taking care of Connie, in the late 70s, there were probably 3 bike fitters in America and 5 in Europe. And we all knew who each other were. And we all were experts in our own way. Now, partly thanks to me, but there's a lot of wannabe experts out there. So everybody thinks they're a bike fitter. And physical therapists believe it to be in their world, right, in their skill set. And I will tell you that I have some retail bike fitters with no medical training that I would refer to before,
some of the PTs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I also, one of my number one referrals is a PT bike fitter in San Jose. I'll give Curtis Cramblett a shout out. The guy is he marries the two disciplines as it should be done. He's a follower of the bike should look like the rider. So how does somebody pick a bike fitter? Well, I think experience. So if you've got a buddy that had success, so my best friend has knee pain. He goes to see Joe Blow fitter and he resolves his knee pain. Okay, I'll give that a go.
Right.
But just because they've got a fancy studio or the busiest shop in town and they're cheap, right? The $100, beware of the $100 bike fit, even the $200 bike fit, beware. So I think knowing who in the community has used this person, do they have medical connections? So if they're not a PT, what if they're a pure retailer? Some of the best bike fitters are purely retail fitters. So they've got a good eye and have good education in the world of bike fit. How do you pick that right one? Ask the right questions. if they've got a medical connection, in other words, if there's a retail bike fitter that has a chiropractor, a physical therapist, even a non-surgical sports med doc that they work with and they trade, clients back and forth. Wow, that's a good guy. He's developed a respect in the medical community where the medical community refers to him and he refers back to them, he or her. So picking how to sort through the wannabes to the real guy, it's a challenge. It is. Technology is important. There's a friend of mine down in Arizona that has every technological gizmo known to man, and he actually lectures around the world on the use of technology in bike fitting. But it's like an MRI. So you and I come from the real world of medicine, right? So we have a young physician who doesn't really have developed his evaluation skills yet. You got knee pain? Well, we better get an MRI. Well, and I know that the MRI is going to have lots of false positives.
Oh, absolutely.
Lots of noise.
Yeah.
And then he sends them off to the orthopedist because they've got a torn meniscus on MRI. They take out that torn meniscus and they didn't resolve his tendonitis.
Issue. Mm-hmm.
So you've got to be able to use technology and you have to be able to interpret that technology. So technology alone does not make a bike fitter. Do I think that we're going to automate bike fit at some time based on math? I think that the basic bike fit ultimately could be done automatically based on math, but it won't be that final perfection that you're looking forward to ride across America. That's for sure.
Right. Before we do, I want to shift over to sports medicine, but before we do, you mentioned something that I know somebody out there listening is saying, wait, what? $100 to $200 is too little to spend on it. Can you talk us through? So for the person listening that says, you know what, this makes sense. I think I really need this because I am riding 2-3 times a week. I'm going to try that, that century ride in my region or whatever. But wait, did he say $200 is not enough? Walk us through the rationale for saying, you know what, I'm going to invest $250, $300, or even $150 to $200. Help us out with that a little bit.
Well, a good bike fit is going to take 2.5 hours. So if you think about that individual's time and his overhead and the service that he's offering, just do the math.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to add up. It's going to add up to that, right? So if he's invested, let's say $10,000 in technology, he's got rent, he's been educated, he has experience. Paying somebody, they're going to pay a physical therapist $100 an hour.
Sure.
Why wouldn't you pay a professional bike fitter? I've told classes of bike fitters that do not give your services away. You are not a free power bar. You're not a free tube. You are providing a professional service that is either going to eliminate somebody's discomfort or prevent somebody's discomfort. So it should be a valued service.
Well, and I think you made a huge point there that a lot of people don't realize. They're thinking bike fit. Oh, I'm going to go in. They're going to adjust my seat for a few minutes. It's going to be 15 minutes. You're saying, no. If it's done well, we're talking an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So folks, keep that in mind when you're looking at this. This is not a quick fix. It's worth the investment. And I can tell you from experience, it is so worth the investment. So let's shift over to sports medicine. You founded the Boulder Center of Sports Medicine. And as you mentioned, there was not one. Now everybody's like, oh, well, yeah, nice. There's one in every street corner. But that wasn't true. That was a groundbreaking approach. What changes have most intrigued you about sports medicine industry over your career, maybe starting around that time and taking us up to now?
Well, let's start with why I did it. I had I'd done several Olympic festivals as on the medical crew. An Olympic festival in those days were in off year. So they weren't Olympics. They were a pre-Olympic event, all the Olympic sports. And it was to really bring all the American athletes together between real Olympic years to get them, to help choose Olympic teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd worked several of those. I had done several summers volunteering at the Olympic Training Center. and was the chief medical officer for USA Cycling from 92 to 96. So what's interesting is that when I left CU in 1985, I went to Eddie Crowder, the athletic director at the time, and proposed this concept of having the training room open to the public certain hours of the day and having the ability to charge for our services. And the athletic department wanted no part of it. We don't want all those stupid runners and cyclists and those weird rock climbers. Right. We don't want those guys hanging around our training room. That was their response, in all honesty. And Boulder was full of post-collegiate athletes, Frank Shorter being the name.
Poster child.
And he had so I just opened the door to Frank. Said, Frank, you're welcome here anytime. We'd tape his feed almost every day. But because there was no venue for post-collegiate, now Olympic athletes to pursue care. So the idea that I went to the athletic department with was, let's just open the training room to the public, charge a cash fee. It'll be a revenue stream. There was zero interest. So I left. I went down to Denver and just joined an orthopedic group, which I owe a lot of gratitude to. I work 2 days a week in the OR. I have an undergraduate degree in anatomy. Well, let me tell you, 2 days a week, 10 hours a day in the OR is the best anatomy lesson.
Oh, no kidding.
a guy could have, putting in total knees and total hips and fixing ACLs and rotator cuffs. So it made me a far better anatomist and a far better clinician. So anyway, I'm there. I'm working at the Olympic Training Center. I'm working for the cycling team. I'm working at Western Orthopedic. And Boulder Community Hospital called me and said, we're thinking about getting in the sports medicine business, and we hear you're the guy with an idea. And so I told the president of the hospital, I said, okay, this is my idea, and I'm happy to leave my very successful employment to come do this if you do X, Y, and Z. And X, Y, and Z was building the Boulder Center for Sports Medicine. The concept was an athletic training room like at the Olympic Training Center. So at the Olympic Training Center, you have rotating physicians and physical therapists. The athletic training staff is pretty much set at the training center, but the physicians, chiropractors, podiatrists, physical therapists, they rotate through on a 2-week basis. And they did at the time. I'm not sure what they do today, but it showed me that having the athlete, the athletic trainer, a physician, access to imaging, having the whole team at the bedside for this athlete was a concept that should work, right? Money aside, this is a concept that should work in a place like Boulder, Colorado. And that's what I proposed. And we built it. It was a huge success. And we actually had Olympic committees from other countries come look at BCSM to see how they would want to set up their national training centers. And of course, universities. We had so many requests to come tour the place. We started charging a fee.
Tells you you're doing something right.
Well, why shouldn't I charge you? You're going to open up a center and compete with me.
Totally.
Yeah. Anyway, what has changed? Internet. A couple of years ago, I was the keynote speaker at Training Peaks in their endurance coaching seminar. And what they asked me to talk on was what changes I had seen over my 40-year career. And it's pretty crazy, right? Heart rate monitors didn't exist.
Oh, my word. Yeah, you've seen.
Yeah. I mean, isokinetic strengthening. I mean, so I had this whole list of technologies that MRI didn't exist back in those days. The word sports medicine or sports surgery, oh my God, we would flay open knees to fix.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but for me, I really believe in time and place. I was in the right place at the right time where we were doing these huge open surgeries to fix an MCL, which we don't even fix anymore. But the anatomy lesson for me to turn me into a better diagnostician was huge. I think there's too much. So the answer to your question, there's too much technology at the time. I think that we're too reliant on MRI and those kinds of things, with one exception possibly. And I think that's ultrasound. diagnostic ultrasound in the right hands. Oh my God. I mean, you can see tendonitis, you can see scar, so the advancement that I think, two advancements that I would think is the use of diagnostic ultrasound in the right hands, and then biologics, platelet-rich plasma injections, stem cells, and I use that word carefully because there are doc in the boxes doing stem cells and PRP, and then there are folks that are truly doing it, customizing the concentrations and stem cell choices based on the location where they're going to be put. So if you ask me what the biggest revelations are in sports medicine, I think it's the use of diagnostic ultrasound and biologics. It's been
seriously,
40 some odd years.
Yeah. All right. You've seen it all when it comes to the endurance world, including the ugly side. Can you take us behind the scenes of some of the performance enhancing drugs for those people that are listening saying, well, why is it such a big part of the culture? And second kind of follow up, are there any answers to solving this issue, or is it just what it's going to be?
So those are two questions. One is the dark side of doing sport, and then performance enhancing drugs. There's two, they're both dark side. I think one of the biggest things that I encounter and don't like to encounter is the eating disorder, the bulimia, the anorexia, the bad relationship with food, both men and women.
Mm-hmm.
It's more prevalent in women, but I would tell you in the world of cycling and running, it's probably equal, men and women. And it scars them physically, it scars them mentally for life. Never to have a real healthy relationship with your body image or with food. Those are both devastating things. Performance enhancing drugs, wow, it's like Beauty and the Beast, right? It's a story as old as time,
right?
And it truly is. And you can go back as far as you want, and whether that's drinking lion's blood or bear testicle, whatever, looking for that mystical edge is a story as old as time. And with the high tech stuff, EPO and other, aerobic altering pharmaceuticals, the athlete and the athlete's coach could stay, one step ahead of the testing process, which was pretty lame for a long time. And then if you've got some countries that are going to allow systemic cheating, so then you've got the athlete from the country that doesn't allow systemic cheating, but you've got to compete with that guy from that other country. You're going to look for something other than hard work. It is human nature. I don't know. I'm not the believer of just open it up and let them all cheat. That I think we would have a lot of deaths on our hands if we did that. I'm a believer in WADA, the World Anti-Doping Association.
Mm-hmm.
I think they do as good a job as they can. They get a little vigilante on occasion, but I don't think we're going to control it. I think there's always going to be there at a low level. I know athletes who have said, I will never cheat, and they washed out, right? They stay average, and they look around going, that guy's no better than me, and suddenly he's
winning it all.
So they've either quit the sport, I don't think we'll ever rid ourselves of that temptation. I think it's human nature.
Right. I appreciate that. So let's look the next decade ahead. So where do you think the athletic performance world is heading? Are there some things that you see on the horizon where you're like, oh, and I think we're going to see this in 5 to 10 years? Just any thoughts along those lines, since you're so involved in that core aspect?
Well, wow. So this is where technology, I think, is going to be a huge help. Heart rate monitor, sleep monitoring now, being able to actually it's Wednesday. I'm supposed to do intervals, but you wake up in the morning and you look at your sleep evaluation and it says you're only, 20% recovered. You probably ought to wait till Thursday.
Yeah.
So power meters, Zwift, the indoor, this new indoor riding app where you can ride with your buddies around the world and actually join races with world-class athletes.
Right.
Leah Davidson is a friend of mine, longtime client. She's a mountain bike racer, 2-time Olympic mountain bike racer, hopefully a 3rd time if we get to have an Olympics next summer. She's been, and of course with COVID, there weren't any races, right? Although the World Championships mountain bike in Europe do start on Monday, but a lot of countries aren't there because they either decided to stay home or couldn't go. Anyway, back to Leah. She decided to do Zwift. She'd never been an indoor rider at all. And she said to me the other day that she's in the best shape she's ever been in her entire life. Her coach says she's recreated herself as an athlete, and she's competing on Zwift in men's races and finishing in the top 5, top 10.
Wow.
So I think that there's a motivation to this trend. The downside to Zwift is overtraining.
Big time. And anyone who's been on Zwift is shaking their head going, oh, yeah.
Well, it's been great for business, right? It creates a lot of So, yeah, I think technology, heart rate monitoring, power meters, qualified coaches, I think we're creating, monstrous athletes. The real question is, where's the top, right? So are we when do we stop breaking speed records? I don't know. And I don't know. I don't think we're there yet. I mean, can we run an 8-second 100 meters? I don't know.
Yeah.
So the training specificity, right? I mean, so if you're a good coach, you look at this athlete and so he's got these spectacular glutes and you say, okay, you gotta play the hand you're given, and you develop those glutes to be monsters. So you're suddenly you're a sprinter, you're whatever sport you want to, or, you've got these Chloe Dygert quads that, look like they're chiseled out of stone. You play your cards, right? You develop what that athlete has been given and then bring all the other aspects of that athlete up into par with their genetics. Man, I just think technology, this is one place where I think technology is a winner. I think too much technology in medicine, sports medicine, and not enough technology in coaching. So right. How many coaches are out there, right? COVID has created a whole new desire to be coached, to be motivated, to be led along. So there are a lot of coaching is now a cottage industry. There are thousands of people, writing programs for, 10 people. They say, okay, I can supplement my income. I'll take 10 athletes at $50 a month. Suddenly he's got a $500 a month boom in his boost to his income. He's enjoying it. He's getting success. And I took another left turn on you, Brad.
We love those. Keep them coming. All right. Speaking of left turns, I want to know what your next left turn is. So you've accomplished so much. You've experienced so much in your lifetime. What is next for Dr. Andy Pruitt?
Well, I retired from clinic 5 years ago. And what I miss from that are the people, right? I miss helping people, but I don't miss the politics of medicine at all. During my, I also was a product developer, biomechanist for Specialized bicycles for 20 years of that 40-year career. And I retired from Specialized about 11 months ago. And I don't know, I thought, I'm 70 years old. I can't just sit around twiddling my thumbs. What do I want to do? And actually, as a 70-year-old athlete, I was experimenting with ways to recover better. And I discovered CBD. Well, like there's a bike fitter on every corner, there's There's this, everybody knows somebody selling CBD. I saw a cardboard sign on the side of 93 on the way to Golden over the weekend, CBD sale. I'm going to be sure to buy my CBD on the side of the road.
With your peaches and your grapes.
So actually, I'm doing a little consulting with a company called iCore Labs in Boulder. It's a startup CBD company that specializes in athletic recovery products. I'm having fun with it. My father was a country chiropractor, and I remember back in the 50s and 60s, him at the stove in our kitchen brewing up salves for industrial, what we now would call them industrial athletes, farmers, and actually he took care of the high school athletes as well, but brewing up these salves and different kinds of things. I'm really kind of back to my roots of I brewed up some sleep formulas at home, and so anyway, I am the science and innovation consultant to iCore Labs. We've launched a couple new products that are my formula, so it's really exciting. It's different than creating a shoe or a saddle or a glove, sure, but it's still creating, and it's still helping people, and that's CBD. Everybody thinks it can do everything. If you look online, it'll fix, it'll cure everything you've got. The truth of the matter is that CBD really just helps your body be the best it can be. It doesn't make you something you're not. It does help balance all of your other cellular systems, and it's well proven. So we make our own cannabinoids in our own body, the endocannabinoid system. So we're just supplementing a system that the body already has. So it's quite interesting and quite different. And so for me in retirement, I didn't want to continue down things I'd always done.
Right.
I wanted to be stimulated and do something new, but still help people. And I think that's where I am. How long this will keep me interested, you never know. I'm still riding my bike like crazy, going bike racing tonight. Been racing bikes for 40 years. It's a habit that's hard to quit,
Well, it's interesting timing on the CBD. We literally, for those people listening to this, just 2 weeks ago, it went live today, but on this schedule, you'll hear it in two weeks prior to this. We had Dr. Peter Grinspoon, a Harvard physician and health and wellness coach who's been researching CBD for about 25 years. So it's interesting that you brought it up when we just posted this episode on specifically, the whole thing is on CBD. So good luck. We'll have to keep track of what's going on that. The very last question, whether you're on Twitter or not, it allows 140 characters, about 2 or 3 sentences. If you had a chance to tweet out your most important life wisdom to the world in that brief form, no pressure here, what would you say?
I've already said it. The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Love it.
I live by it. So, there's 2 mottos, right? Right place, right time. You've got no control over that one. You do have control over the harder you work, the luckier you get. Yeah.
Beautiful. Dr. Pruitt, such a privilege. Thank you so much for joining us.
This has been a blast. Thank you.
Once again, sports medicine bike fit pioneer, Dr. Andy Pruitt, everyone. Thank you for tuning into the #1 podcast for health and wellness coaching. Next week, we'll be speaking to Dr. Felice Jacka of Australia about her groundbreaking research on the connection between our nutrition and both our mental health and our brain health. If you're looking for another option on the health, wellness, performance front, please take a peek over at youtube.com/coaching channel. Our library of brief, most of them are 3 to 12 minutes long, encouraging, motivational, and educational videos, all freely available, has now grown to almost 100 videos. And just so you don't feel like, oh my gosh, how am I going to find anything? There are playlists that allow you to tap into the topics that you'll find most valuable. Now it's your turn. Let's make today the day we move toward better than yesterday and help those around us do the same in the process. This is Dr. Bradford Cooper of the Catalyst Coaching Institute signing off. Make it a great rest of your week, and I'll speak with you soon on the next episode of the Catalyst Health, Wellness, and Performance Coaching Podcast, or maybe over on the YouTube coaching channel.